Yashoda Nandana Jaya Brajajana Ranjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jyom Vishnupada Paramahamsa Prabhupada Ashtottara Shri Śrīmad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Anyone just go to here because it's parked in the laneway.
Speak to him. Jyom, what is it?
Just make an announcement if anyone parks. They have to move the car, unload some steel in the laneway.
Okay, just give me
Just go to
after. Sorry, I'll make the announcement, then I'll do the prayer. There is an urgent announcement. Somebody has parked a car here, right in the front, in the back, Little Page, right? Little Page Street. 1XL, 1XQ. Which car is this? Yeah, it's Skoda. So if anyone has parked, please move it. It's an.
have to unload some steel there, so
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Jyom Vishnupada Paramahamsa Prabhupada Ashtottara Śrīmad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananda Kodi Vaishnava Vranda Ki Jai. Naam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vranda Ki Jai. Grandhara Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Ki Jai. Janitai Gaur Premanande, all glorious assembly with all glorious assembly with all glorious assembly with all glorious Shri Guru Gauranga, all glorious Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 4, entitled Gajendra Returns to the Spiritual World, verse number 5. Sonukambita Ishena Parikramya Pranamyatam Logasya Pashyato Lokam Swamagan Muktakil Bishaha Sonukambita Ishena Parikramya Pranamyatam Lokasya Pashyato Lokam Swamagan Muktakil Bishaha. Muktagil Bishaha Sonikambita Ishena Parikramya Pranamyatam Lokasya Pashyato Loka Samagan Muktagil Misha. Mataji. Sonukambita Ishena Parikramya Pranamyatam Logasya Pashyato Lokam Samagan Muktakil Bishaha. Sonukambita Ishena Parikramya Pranamyatam Lokasya Pashyato Loka Samagan Muktagil Bishaha Sonukambita Ishena Parikramya Pranamyatam Lokasya Pashyato Loka Muktagil Bishaha. Word to word translation responsibly, please. Saha, he, king, who. Anugambitaha, being favored. Ishena, by the Supreme Lord. Parikramya, circumambulating. Pranamya, offering his obeisances. Tam, unto him. Lokasya, all the demigods and men. Pashyataha, while seeing. Lokam, to the planet. Swam, his own. Agat, went back. Mukta, being delivered. Kilbishaha, from the reactions of his sin. Translation: having been favored by the causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and having regained his original form, King Hu circumambulated the Lord and offered his obeisances. Then, in the presence of all demigods, headed by Brahma, he returned to Gandharvaloka. He had been freed of all sinful reactions. Next verse, verse 6. Gajendro Bhagavat Sparshat Vimukto Jnana Bandhanat Prapto Bhagavato Rupam Pitavasas Chadurbhujaha. Because Gajendra, king of the elephants, had been touched directly by the hands of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was immediately freed of all material ignorance and bondage. Thus, he received the salvation of Sarupya Mukti, in which he achieved the same bodily features as the Lord, being dressed in yellow garments and possessing 4 hands. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If one is favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead by having his gross body touched by the Lord, his body turns into a spiritual body and he can go back home, back to Godhead. Gajendra assumed a spiritual body when his body was touched by the Lord. Similarly, Dhruva Maharaj assumed his spiritual body in this way. Archana Paddhati, daily worship of the deity, provides an opportunity to touch the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus it enables one to be fortunate enough to get a spiritual body and go back to Godhead. Not only by touching the body of the Supreme Lord, but simply by hearing about his pastimes, chanting his glories, touching his feet and offering worship. In other words, by serving the Lord somehow or other, one is purified of material contamination. This is the result of touching the Supreme Lord. One who is a pure devotee, Anya Bhilashida Shunyam, who acts according to the Shastra and the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, certainly becomes purified. Like Gajendra, he assumes a spiritual body and returns home back to Godhead. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Dhananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanutam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Bhutair Mahatbhir Yaima Puro Vibhu Nirmaya Shete Yadamusha Purusha Bhunkte Gunan Shodashatmaka Solankrishishta Bhagavan Vachamsi Me. Hare Krishna. It's a very fortunate part of this pastime where both Huhu and Gajendra are getting delivered. This is very amazing if you think about. So here it's mentioned first Huhu circumambulated the Lord because he received his original position. And when we talk about the original position, it is not his spiritual body. Who received his Gandharva body. Having obtained the Gandharva body, he circumambulated the Lord. He was so fortunate. He could see the Lord face to face. And who also, in one sense, got touch of the Lord. What was the touch of the Lord? By the Sudarshan Chakra. So he was killed by the Lord, by the Sudarshan Chakra. However, that in itself is considered the greatest mercy. It is the greatest boon, being killed by the Lord. What to speak about the Lord? Even killed by the devotees, having ordained by the Lord, is considered greatest good fortune. Parthastra Bhuta Padamapurasya. In the third canto of Bhagavatam, in the very beginning, Uddhava remembers pastimes of Krishna inside and outside of Vrindavan. As he remembers the pastimes of Krishna outside of Vrindavan, he reflects on this particular pastime where on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, what is going on? The battlefield of Kurukshetra is not ordinary. People do ask this question. What happened after the Gita Upadesh? After the Lord spoke Bhagavad Gita, what happened? Was there any peace after this? Because they expect a whole philosophy spoken. Now, there must be some peace. Like I remember many years back, I went for my graduation ceremony in the university. And I was wearing all the gown and everything. So, I was wearing saffron cloth. So, I was in the ashram. Then when I went there, one guy immediately came to me to speak to me. He was also graduating. He was all gown and the whole hat and everything. He said, he asked, he understood I'm a monk. He asked, I have read Bhagavad Gita. I said, very happy. Okay, he's an OZ guy. Did his PhD in physics, some particle physics. So we were discussing a little bit about it. And then I said, I have read Bhagavad Gita. I got Bhagavad Gita. I was very impressed. Okay, that's very good. You got it. Where did you get it from? He got from the street. So by book distribution, he got a copy of Bhagavad Gita and he read almost all of it. And he said, I expected that after Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, the battle would be completely stopped. There will be peace. But in that sense, it's an anticlimax, isn't it? Bhagavad Gita, there's no peace. The war went on and Krishna is instructing Arjuna to fight. So people could misconstrue what's going on in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. we cannot see from the ordinary vision. And so Uddhava speaks the truth behind the battle. And there is a beautiful purport as well. And different acharyas comments on this. So Partha Astra Puta Padamapurasya. Again, it is also talking about different personalities who are present on the battleground obtaining their respective positions. As we can hear from who is getting his respective position. What is that? As a Gandharva. At the same time, a very special position, he is completely freed from his sins. And so from crocodile he has become a Gandharva, and now he is completely purified, and he has obtained the darshan of the Lord. He has seen the Lord personally, and he has obtained the touch of the Lord by the Sudarshan Chakra. And so now he is not going to continue any of the materialistic activities that he used to perform. He is not going to do that anymore. He is going to simply glorify the Lord. He is going to perform pure devotion service. So this is the benefit that who received from the Lord. This is the real mercy of the Lord, not just going back to the Gandharva Loka. He was already in the Gandharva Loka. He was already a Gandharva. He could sing very beautifully. What's the big deal? But now he can glorify the Supreme Lord. This is the greatest good fortune that he obtained. So on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, being purified by what? Partha Astra Puta. Purified by the arrows of Arjuna. What is that purification? The arrows were piercing the chest, piercing the heart of the military men on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Because of that, and also seeing whom? Seeing Krishna himself on the battlefield. It's exactly the same thing. If you see, here the weapon is the Lord's weapon, Chakra. There it is a weapon of Arjun, his pure devotee. And there also, those who are assembled on the battleground are receiving the direct darshan of the Lord. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, as well as in Nectar of Devotion, in connection to this, 2 points are made. One is about the appearance of the Lord. This is mentioned in Nectar of Devotion. The Lord appeared on the battlefield of Kurukshetra wearing a Vaijayanti garland and with his Pidambara, his yellow cloths. And he was not looking like ready for a fight. He was not looking, with full armors and, ready for a fight. Rather, he was dressed in such a casual and beautiful way so that it is attractive. So the Acharyas mentions, the Rupa Goswami is quoting, it's mentioned that the Lord went to the battlefield of Kurukshetra to simply give his audience. In that way he wanted to give his mercy to everyone. Not for the purpose of taking part in the battle. So he said, by his audience he was giving his mercy. And Nectar of Devotion in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it's also mentioned that his body was so fragrant. The battlefield is not such a very nice place. There is bloodshed. It's not so nice. So in that bloodshed, the Lord Krishna's fragrance was permeating the atmosphere. This is Vrindavan. Vrindavan is like that. Devotees know that Krishna is coming from a far distance. How? Krishna's fragrance. This is the fragrance of Krishna. So similarly, even on the battlefield, the Acharyas explains that he was permeating the beautiful fragrance to all directions. So this is the presence of Krishna. This is the absolute nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His presence is all auspicious. And what happened to those got killed in that battle? According to their consciousness, they got higher destinations. If somebody is very demoniac, if they are really asuras who are present on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, what did he get? What did they get? Any idea? They are demons. They wanted to kill Krishna, everyone. What did they receive? They went to heavenly planets. They got heavenly planets. They got heavenly kingdom. And those who were neutral, What did they receive? No, that is for those who are inimical. Those who are neutral, they got liberation. Or higher. And some of them even having a bit of favorable nature, they went to Vaikuntha Loka. Can you imagine? This is the power, this is the potency of the presence of Krishna. So it's not ordinary. This is the touch of the Lord, as it is mentioned in the purport. It can be touched by his weapon. It can be touch of Partha's arrows. It can be the holy name. Anyway, if you are getting in touch with the Lord somehow or other, one is eternally benefited. So this is the potency of the Lord. This is the absolute nature of the Lord. Advaitam achyutam anadimananda rupam adyam purana purusham navayavanam cha. This is the absolute nature. Advaitam. There is no difference. There is no difference between body or the mind or the soul. Everything is one. Advaitam achyutam anadimananda rupam. This is the nature of the Lord. So here Huhu was very fortunate because he played a prank on a great sage. That was his good fortune. It was unfortunate, but that turned out to be a great fortune. Right? Otherwise, there are people who play pranks, right? It's like give something, like a bomb. You see the videos, give the bomb and run, it's going to explode. People do all these kind of things. Then they were doing the same thing. But as a result of that, simply by the causeless mercy of the great sage, he got the darshan of the Lord. This is mercy. So we can say that who obtained that and now see the position of Gajendra. Even higher. Why? The Lord didn't touch directly Huhu, but indeed he touched Gajendra. He pulled him out of the water. So see the strength of the Lord also, right? The elephants are so powerful. You see the videos, the elephants, one big tree, just plucks and just throw. I have seen a car. Car is not a big deal, just kick. Car is flying. This is the strength of the elephant. Elephant strength is so much. And what did Lord do? Lord didn't struggle. He just pulled him, okay? Along with the crocodile. Okay, took him out. Okay, cut. Finished. This is the power of the Lord. The Lord can do anything so easily. And what did he obtain? He got Sarupya Mukti. Since the Lord directly touched Gajendra, he got Sarupya Mukti. That's why the Acharyas and Srila Prabhupada mentions about the good fortune of all the demons in Vrindavan specifically. Other part of Vrindavan, the Lord uses weapons, isn't it? Here also he uses weapon, chakra. In Vrindavan, does he use chakra? No. Gada? No, nothing. What he uses? His own strength. So the Acharya says, see the good fortune of all these demons in Vrindavan. So in fighting with these demons, the Lord is embracing these demons. So they see this is an embrace, this is a sweet embrace of the Lord. So this is the position of Krishna in Vrindavan. And the Lord can even get into the body of the demon, like Aghasur. The Lord entered the body of the demon. Can you see such a mercy? In other words, the Lord was completely inside the demon. So his tongue got such a mercy. Direct. The Lord doesn't wear any shoes in Vrindavan. So the lotus feet of the Lord was touching the body of Aghasur, and he expanded all his mouth, all his head, everything got the mercy of the Lord, but he got killed. So this is the mercy of the Lord. So here it is very, very special. And thus Gajendra assumed his four-handed form, Sarupya Mukti. In Vaikuntha Loka, everyone has four-handed form. They have very, very special form, and they also have a bluish complexion. They also wear Pidambar. This is Vaikuntha. But no one will get confused. The residents, they don't get confused. Here we have a problem. Some incarnation, many people claim they are incarnations and there is a confusion. Who is incarnation? And many people do follow such incarnations. But in Vaikuntha Loka, even though everyone is looking exactly like Lord Narayana, still there is no confusion. This is the amazing thing. Here Srivatsa, no one is confused. They can identify who the Supreme Lord is. And they don't want any respect of the Lord. They don't want to take the position of the Lord. This is the difference between the material world and the spiritual world. Even when in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, when Gopakumar reached Vaikuntha Loka, he was seeing all these residents and he was paying obeisances. Oh my Lord, so happy to see you. And they were closing their ears and telling, please don't speak like this. We are not the Lord. Narayan is someone else. We are only his servants. And they were becoming angry, calling them as the Lord, because they had the same bodily features of the Lord, Sarupya Mukti. So this is the position of such great devotees. Then the main point is Srila Prabhupada explains how we can be in touch with the Lord. Sparshana, the touch of the Lord. This is the essence of Krishna consciousness. Being in touch with Krishna. This is the essence of Krishna consciousness. And there are many ways in which we can be in touch with the Lord. Srila Prabhupada specifically emphasizes Archana Paddhati. What is Archana? Archana means deity worship. So worshipping the deity is very special in one sense, because one can touch the Lord. This is one anga of deity worship. One anga of deity worship is you have to touch the Lord. If you are worshipping Salagram, you had to touch, you had to smell, and you had to touch the Lord on your forehead. All of them. So this is part, this anga of the Archana. One touches the Lord. And also in the 11th canto of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Lord instructs Uddhava about deity worship. Shiraso padayo krutva bahubhyam cha parasparam prapannam pahimamisha bhitam mrityu graharnavat. The Lord says, how to worship the Lord? How to worship the deity? He says, Shirasa padayo krutva. Touch the forehead to the feet of the Lord. Shiraso padayo krutva bahubhyam cha parasparam. Use both your hands. And tell the Lord, hold on to the lotus feet of the Lord and tell the Lord, okay, Prapannam Pahimamisham, please protect me, I am surrendered unto you. Why am I surrendering unto you? He says, Bhitam Mrityu Graharnavat. I am Bhitam. Bhita means I am very fearful. It's healthy fear to have. Bhitam, from what? Mrityu Graha. Again the same word is used. In previous purports, everywhere the word is used, Graha. What is the meaning of Graha? Here? Not in this verse. In many verses, Graha is used for crocodile. Graha, all these kind of things. Exactly, Graha means actually to grab. Exactly. Graha, that's the meaning. Graha. That's the meaning of even Graha. What's another meaning of Graha? Planet. It's capturing us. Karmic reactions capturing us. Can't do anything. Planet changes, our life changes, you know. So the Graha holding on to us. We can't move. So crocodile holds on to us. And similarly, we have to hold on to Krishna. That is Bhitam Mrityu Graharnavat. So here, whose Graha? Mrityu. Repeated birth and death. So because of that, the cycle, the ocean of repeated birth and death, I am very fearful of that, and so I am holding on to you. This is the position of the Lord. So in deity worship, one of the anga of deity worship is personally touching the Lord. So one benefits out of it. And this is an opportunity for that. In fact, it is Srila Prabhupada emphasizes about Archana, emphasizes about the deity worship in different ways. One interesting point that Srila Prabhupada mentions is in all other processes of bhakti, let's say Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Vandanam, Archanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam, in generally speaking, except Archanam, in all other processes, if a devotee perfects that process, the next step is what? If one perfects any of this process, generally what's the next step? What happens if you perfect one of the process of Navavidha Bhakti. What happens? We go back home, back to Godhead. In one sense this is right, but there is something more. What is that? Oh, definitely all the material tribulations are taken away. But apart from that, we will achieve something else before going back to Goloka Vrindavan. What is that? Eh? Yeah, that is required. But something before. Where do we go? Okay, let me be more specific. Where do we go if one gets perfected in hearing and chanting, say? Exactly. We go to a planet where Krishna is enacting his pastime then and there, that time. Because the Lord's pastimes are going on all the time. That is the meaning of Nitya Leela. Nitya Leela has couple of meanings. One, Nitya Leela is going on, aprakata, in the spiritual world. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains about Nitya Leela going on in the material world also. Because the Lord is enacting pastimes in these unlimited universes. So in one of the Brahmandas, now Krishna's childhood pastimes are going on. So he gives the example, Lord Chaitanya gives the example of take a rope, tie the lamp at the end of the rope, and you rotate the rope. So in that way, the lamp is rotating, so you can see the light everywhere, like a circle. But it's only one light, but it's everywhere. Similarly, the Lord is, if you see, the Lord pastimes are going on all the time. So it's mentioned that generally, the devotees are taken who are perfected to such a pastime where a devotee will get training from the eternal associates of the Lord. That is the final training. So we understand the progress in bhakti is all based on association. The progress in bhakti is based on association. Our progress is not just based on our independent sadhana. It's a very important point. Water finds its level. If you throw water, according to its level, it settles. That's how devotees are. According to where we want to go in our Krishna consciousness, accordingly we have to choose our association. If we don't have association of those who are serious in Krishna consciousness, our advancement will dampen. So it depends on the association. And if you consider Krishna consciousness movement, we have devotees of all different levels in our movement. Very advanced to neophyte. We have. Even in this temple room, we don't know where everyone is standing exactly, but we have devotees in different status of their devotion. Now, according to what we need, we have to associate. So depending on our association, we will make progress. So association is so critical. Association is so critical. That's why ultimate association is from the eternal associates of the Lord. That's why even from this we can understand importance of the association, and they go to such pastimes where they get trained, and after that they go to the spiritual planet. However, if one is perfected by the process of archana, by worshipping the deity, then one is taken back home, back to Godhead straight away. No training required. Why is it so? In that process, one is trained how to deal with the Lord directly. How to deal with the Lord directly. Whole purpose of Archana Paddhati, yes, of course it is to purify us and also training us how to treat the Supreme Lord. How to serve the Lord in person. Of course, as a servant of the Parampara, but the training is given. The deity worship means there are so many aspects of deity worship. Taking darshan of the Lord is deity worship. Taking charanamrita is deity worship. Making garlands, deity worship. Cooking for the Lord, deity worship. And doing puja is deity worship. Dressing, deity worship. Bathing. So there are unlimited aspects to the deity worship. But if one can actually perfect that, one can go back home, back to Godhead. So it's considered very special. Of course, not so easy. And we cannot do that independently. And there is no independent performance of Archana Paddhati. Archana Paddhati has to go along with hearing and chanting. Without hearing and chanting, Archana is not going to work. So in Archana in itself, there has to be mantras, there has to be chanting. So Srila Prabhupada makes this point very clear that physically we can talk about touching the Lord, we can get purified. Not only that, we can also get purified by other processes, other means of touching. Who else got touched by the chakra of the Lord? Shishupal, right? Shishupal got touched by the chakra of the Lord. He also got purified, he got liberation. And eventually Sarupi as well. First he got liberation, later Sarupi Mukti as well. So he also obtained. Now, how can we be touched by other processes? Because the purpose, the essence of this purport is to be in touch with the Lord. So hearing and chanting, this is a very important aspect of being in touch with the Lord. Most accessible process, that is hearing and chanting. How can we be touched by the holy name? How? Chanting, then chanting can happen, then and hearing. Hearing is very important because chanting can happen. So we feel being touched by the Lord if we have sincere hearing of the chanting of the holy name. We feel touched by the Lord. Do you feel sometimes? We feel very happy. We think about Krishna. The thoughts about Krishna comes very naturally in the heart when we are chanting the holy name of the Lord. That is being touched by the Lord. If we simply finish our rounds, after chanting you have no feelings. You don't feel, did I chant? Did I actually chant today? We feel like that. How it happened? 16 rounds, somehow that something happened in between. So this is not really being touched by the Lord. Okay, to some degree the Lord is being touched, but it is not so obvious and it's not powerful enough. It has to be powerful. So absorbed chanting. Same, if you are in Kirtan, if you are not really taking part in the Kirtan, especially if you come to Mangalarati, maybe half tired already, and sitting, some Saradava is going on, somehow or other, picking out what's happening. Actually, I am seeing the Lord. But okay, some verses are going on. This is not yet touched by the Lord. Not waken up yet. So one has to wake up to the devotional service. We may be practicing devotional service, but we have to wake up to the devotional service. Then only there is a possibility of being touched by the hands of Krishna through various processes of bhakti. We have to be conscious. We have to think about the meanings of the verses that we are chanting. If you go in autopilot mode, it's very difficult. We don't know what's really happening. So we have to be absorbed. Same with worshipping the Lord. Same with worshipping the Lord. What am I doing? Morning Arati, it goes on. But are we really doing it? When we are worshipping the Lord, are we feeling the Lord is personally present and the Lord is personally accepting the offerings through the parampara? Spiritual master is there, Srila Prabhupada is there. The Lord is actually accepting or not. So this feeling has to be there. This is being touched by the Lord. And in that mood, if we serve the Lord, it is purifying. It's very powerful. So the touch by the Lord is available all the time. Say all of you are, many of you are cooking all the time, right? You're cooking for the deity and also home you're cooking. You're cutting the vegetable. If you're thinking about Krishna, this is for the pleasure of Krishna. And one feels very happy. One experiences the touch of Krishna. So it is possible anytime, anywhere. One can be in touch with Krishna. This is the potency of devotional service. Recently, I was studying the 11th canto of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, the initial chapters. In the second chapter, the conversation between Navayogendras and King Nimi, the first question posed by King Nimi to Navayogendras is, what is the ultimate good? And the answer is Bhagavad Dharma. This is the answer, devotional service. Bhagavad Dharma is the ultimate good for the living entities. There are beautiful purports where there are very interesting points which are very relevant to sadhakas. Of course, we know about perfected devotees, they are free from all the anxieties, free from fear, etc., etc. Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they mention very, very significant points. On one level, they say that if one is engaged in devotion service seriously, even a neophyte can experience fearlessness. Second, even a neophyte can experience Krishna. This is mentioned in the second canto also. Saroruhantikam, in that verse. Vrajantistat saroruhantikam. One can obtain the lotus feet of the Lord. There, even Jiva Goswami explains, here also Jiva Goswami explains this very important point, that in bhakti is such a process that a beginner can experience the end to some degree, right in the beginning. All other processes one cannot. One can do jnana, studying scripture. One doesn't know what is actually Brahman realization. But in bhakti, one get at least a semblance, at least a tiny fraction of that experience right from the beginning. That is touch of the Lord. This is the speciality of bhakti. This makes bhakti very unique, isn't it? So Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Susukham kartum avyayam, also pratyakshaavagamam dharmyam. What is pratyakshaavagamam dharmyam? Touch of the Lord, pratyakshaavagamam. Direct perception by realization, because one gets purified. So this is the process that we have. We have all the opportunity to do this. All the opportunity to do this. And if we plug into it, we can get it. That's all. If there is a power socket is there, we had to just plug, we get the power. Similarly, if we plug into bhakti, we get realizations. We get happiness very directly. There is no issues. There is nothing in between. So the result, this is the result of touching the Supreme Lord. This is the result of touching the Supreme Lord. One who is a pure devotee, who acts according to the Shastra and words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, certainly becomes purified like Gajendra. Immediately can become purified. Even if there is anartha in the heart. We deal with anarthas. We have unwanted things in our heart. What is anartha? Anartha. Artha means most valuable, meaningful. Artha also means money. That's also another meaning of artha. But anartha means useless, unwanted, which is harming us. But our problem is we consider unwanted things to be most wanted. This is called anartha. Unwanted to be most wanted. This is the problem. And so, even if we have anartha, if we sincerely try to chant, meaning if we put all our endeavor to chant and try to avoid the offenses, one gets immense benefit. So that is applicable when we are doing any service. We know we have anartha. At the same time, understanding, accepting, yes, we have anartha, but I am doing this service for your pleasure. That is of great benefit. With that consciousness, if we do any devotion service, it is of highest benefit. The Lord knows that there is anartha. This is not a disqualification to perform anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhya anavratam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruttama. These anarthas are not a disqualification to perform uttama bhakti. This is an interesting point, because it's very applicable for all of us. Because when we talk about Uttama Bhakti, yes, the matured stage of Uttama Bhakti can only be performed by purified devotees, advanced devotees. Let it be so. But Uttama Bhakti is not restricting a neophyte. Uttama Bhakti, even a neophyte, a sadhaka with anartha can perform Uttama Bhakti. This is an important point to be noted. Why? The reason is a devotee has to acknowledge, okay, I have problems, which is okay. Still, one can perform without material desires. So if we are performing a devotion service, we don't consciously think this is for to fulfill such and such material desires. Or we don't go and pray for Krishna for our material desires. If we are not doing that, and if we are properly performing devotion service under the guidance of the spiritual master and the devotees, then that is also Uttama. So this is a very assuring and hopeful statement for all of us. we have the opportunity to perform Uttam Bhakti in that sense. And that can award pure devotion. I told this point about chanting last week. We have the opportunity in that sense to have a very powerful chanting experience and to do powerful chanting. How? Chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, avoiding the offenses, plus while chanting, be very clear about our connection to Krishna with Sambandha. Understanding I am servant of Krishna, I am chanting to please you, I am requesting your devotion service. In that mood, very sincerely, if one is chanting, then that chanting can give Shuddhanam. That chanting can actually give Shuddhanam. And if that chanting is not there, that chanting will not give Shuddhanam. For example, if you are not really trying to avoid offenses, and that chanting will not give Shuddhanam. So one has to come to a stage, one is sincerely trying to avoid the offenses. It's not going to happen automatically, it's a conscious endeavor. And from there, one can get purified. So when it comes to the core process of being touched by Krishna through the holy name, then we have to put that sincere effort. So in conclusion, here, who as well as Gajendra obtained their respective destinations. One still in the material world, but as a devotee, now he can practice Krishna consciousness. And Gajendra, in his four-handed Swarupa, can perform his eternal service to the Lord in Vaikuntha Loka. And for us, Srila Prabhupada's instruction is somehow or other be in touch with the Lord. And by that, we can also get purified and we can go back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Is there any questions or any comments? Jai Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for a nice class.
Hare Krishna.
You mentioned about the stages of chanting, the offensive chanting,
yes,
and the Sudanam. But then there's that middle stage, Namabas, where it's when you're chanting, you're not committing any offenses. You're cleared of all your sinful reactions, but you still don't attain the pure love of God, of Krishna when you're chanting. How's that? If you're not chanting without any offenses, how is that not Sudanam?
Because there is no love. Shuddhanam means chanting with love for the Lord. That is a very high platform. Shuddhanam, meaning it's not just avoiding the offenses. There is a huge gap between avoiding the offenses and Shuddhanam. Because Shuddhanam means chanting with love for the Lord. So that has to be cultivated in the clearing stage. So that's what I was mentioning. That one is avoiding the offenses, plus one is offering it to Krishna, because it is starting from understanding who Krishna is, what is our connection, and with that mood, with that sankalpa, a devotee is chanting. That's why Srila Prabhupada explains many times, a devotee chants just like a child crying for his mother. So there is a connection is there. Can you see? Child and mother, such a strong connection, and the child actually needs the mother. In the same way, here, a devotee is chanting in that particular mood. Also, Srila Prabhupada gave the meaning of Hare Krishna Mahamantra that, O Krishna or Radharani, please engage me in your service. So this is the mood. This is the mood. It's not that we are telling this, we are focusing on the mantra, but this is the mood. In other words, this is in the back of the mind. So if you are chanting in this mood, while avoiding offenses, then that can give Shuddhanam. It's a very important point. Yeah. Mother.
Thank you for the class. Just wanted to ask regarding the statement that you said that even a neophyte can perform Uttama Bhakti. So I would like to understand...
Sadhaka.
a neophyte sadhaka
Yes.
can perform Uttama Bhakti. So we'd like to understand what would be the concept of Uttama Bhakti in that context, since we understand that pure Bhakti is synonyms of Uttama Bhakti, free of karma, jnana,
Yes.
always favorable
That's
to
right.
Krishna. So can we understand that
Yeah.
there are different levels of
Yes,
Uttama
exactly.
Bhakti?
It can be neophyte level or it can be matured level. Exactly like Srila Prabhupada gave the example of, raw mango and a ripened mango. Both are mangoes. So here, the essential point is, as sadhakas can perform Uttama Bhakti in the sense that one can avoid, as it is mentioned here, if one can do anukulyena. So the favorable part of bhakti is anukulyena. One can do anukulyena, sadhana bhakti. So and in the level of sadhana bhakti, the principle of sadhana bhakti is what? Smartavya satatam Vishnu vismartavyo na jaduchit. Always remember Krishna and never forget him. So technically one can follow that. That's why we have, generally devotees, we may not be up there, but we try to have a routine where everything is connected to Krishna. So this is part of sadhana. So this is talking about a sadhaka. This is not about a prema bhakta. Sadhana bhakti. And here one has to arrange one's day. Not easy. So that one has some connection to Krishna, and at the same time, and one is serving in a favorable mood, and one is not having this impersonal understanding, impersonal conceptions about Krishna, and also one is not doing it for material benefits. So in that level, a sadhaka can start performing Uttama Bhakti in a very basic level. It is not the most advanced level, it's not the most matured level. But nowhere Rupa Goswami says that in giving the different levels of bhakti, that Uttama Bhakti starts only at the last, because this is the beginning. So we have to start from where we are, and there we have to try to avoid all this jnana and karma which are impediments to our bhakti, and align ourselves to pleasure of the Lord.
If you allow me another question, it's
Yes.
just wanted to understand in that regard,
Yeah.
what would be the concept of neophyte devotee? Because we understand the Kanishta Adhikari as a neophyte, it has a favorable attitude towards the Lord.
Can I just interfere there? For a Kanishta, it's not possible. Neophyte, we consider as a Kanishta, not possible. The reason is Kanishta doesn't have knowledge. As simple as that. So Kanishta cannot come to the platform of Namabhas. Not possible.
Who would be then a neophyte?
Sadhaka. A sadhaka means one who is doing bhajana kriya. So bhajana kriya generally we say from, following, having some basic understanding. Generally even also say getting initiated. That is a kind of, it's a gray area. It's not like a rule like that. But for a sadhaka who follows for regulatory principles, understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, chanting 16 rounds, etc. This is a sadhaka. So, Kanishta cannot avoid the offenses. This is the problem of a Kanishta. Because Kanishta doesn't have knowledge. And Kanishta doesn't have Sambandha Gyan. So, one cannot come to the clearing stage. Not possible. So, if we are, I mentioned in a very broad way Kanishta, neophyte in the sense, considering, but specifically referring to a sadhaka who is Madhyama. Madhyama, yeah. Specifically to a Madhyama. Kanishta cannot, unfortunately, because no knowledge or very minimal. And doesn't even associate with the devotees, so unfortunately it's not possible. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the nice class. Prabhu, I was reading Bhagavad Gita yesterday, and Srila Prabhupada mentions in 4.31 the purport that the human life is the only loophole to get out of the entanglement of birth and death. But we see Gajendra, he wasn't a human, he was an animal, and he got liberated. And also the other day you mentioned how many animals in Krishna consciousness were liberated. So how do we understand these 2 points? Because when I preach to my friends, that I try to explain to them that eating meat is not like necessary because you'll become an animal in your next life. Then they say, because you're saying now animals, they're also getting liberated. So if we become animals, we'll also get liberated.
Okay. There are rules and there are exceptions to the rules. So the rule is humans, it's for humans. So bhakti is generally for humans, the human platform. Then there can be special mercy, like Gajendra. There can be some animals, but it is not common. So that is the point. So we need to understand that yes, animals can get some benefit. For example, if devotees are giving some prasadam, they are getting benefit for sure. But at the same time, animal platform is not the favorable platform to go back home, back to Godhead. So that remains. So this we have to see as exceptions. Is that?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the nice class. I heard that Sivi asked the question yesterday also from Sivi Bhagavan Prabhu. I thought maybe she was asking animals because animals, they had the human body, that's why they got the mercy. So without human body we can't. Even the Gajendra, crocodile, they had the human. So the human body is important to...
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
And also,
Hare Krishna.
they can get the mercy. Devotees' pets are, we are not encouraging to have pets, but I'm saying, well, they get mercy. Right? You can have pets outside the home, not inside the home. Not inside home pets, outside is all good. So, they can get some mercy from the devotees as well.
Because all the animals who practicing this devotional service or remembering because they had the human body before.
Yeah, that's why I
Yes,
understood the
yes.
point. Yes, definitely. I understood. Yeah, thank you. Anything else? Okay. Thank you very much. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.